All right. So here we go. So I think we're live now. My name is Matt Storms. Welcome to Helpdesk Hangout number 120. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, please go ahead and do that. Go leave some comments on YouTube. We check those. Yes, if you want to go ahead and share the link to this Hangout on Twitter or wherever you want, get more people to join us, please do so. I'll paste it here in the private chat so you guys can go grab it and go share it wherever you want. Thank you for joining us this week. Let's go ahead and do introductions. We'll go left to right as we usually always do. And it looks like Baruch has a visitor in the background. So go ahead, Barry.
Hi, I'm Barry. I'm here to give Josh a hard time today.
Outstanding. Baruch.
Yes, I help, my name is Baruch Levonsky. I help businesses achieve their goals online.
Baruch, take your camera and angle it down just a little bit because all I see is your eyes up. There you go, buddy. All right. That sounds good. Danny.
Hi, I'm Danny, and I'm just generally interested in SEO. Happy to be here.
Outstanding. Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm a general disturber of the peace and maker of angry people.
Sounds about right this last few weeks. Phil.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hi, so I'm a kind of technical analyst. I occasionally do a bit of technical SEO. I was on one of these Hangouts a couple of weeks ago. I'm just curious to find out if there was any feedback on kind of JSON LD or kind of future markup. And there's been an update recently in terms of Google's kind of scraping of JSON LD so that logos are now exposed. So I'm curious to see if people have either tried that and they've got any feedback on it. So that's where I'm from.
Outstanding. Yeah, I read through your stuff and we'll talk about it. Manuel.
Hello.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Manuel Lemos. I'm a web developer and I have some user contributed content sites. And I'm an AdSense TC.
Outstanding. Manuel, can you do me a favor? When you're not talking, because you have a lot of background, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you very much. And William.
Okay.
Was that to me, sir?
Yep.
William Rock, just another geek on the net. I'll be watching the comments in the threads, so if I see something out, I'll point it out.
Appreciate it. Thank you very, very much for your help today on that, sir. So I think it'd be kind of interesting to talk about two subjects today, and I'm gonna hold off the second one for a few minutes, and let's talk about the first one, which I think was kind of cool. Google came out with some new structured data type stuff, where they're rendering, you can render your like social profiles and things like that, and knowledge graph type results. Who wants to? Has anybody looked about that besides Barry? Barry, you want to talk about that for just a second, or maybe Phil can. Phil just passed it a link to it. Either one.
Yeah, so I haven't tested the new social and logos one yet because that's only just come out, and I didn't realize the Webmaster Tools post had just come out as well. It does also appear they've updated the structured data testing tool to now check for JSON LD, which is great. So I'll try that out. The main kind of, as I mentioned like 2 weeks ago, that the two main benefits of this are future actions can be tagged. So the one difference between kind of rich snippets and JSON LD is that stuff that a user can do, you can now sort of tag up, and then you get those actions then exposed within the SERPs. So for instance, like add on Google Plus or add on Facebook is in effect a future action that is now once you've added that markup, then you get that on the SERPs results. So that's kind of cool. The logo one I'm still kind of reading up on. I'm not sure what the feature action is going to be for the logo. But definitely improvement in organic CTR again because you've got a big brand.
Hey Phil, could you do me a favor? Two things. Take your camera, point it down at your face because all we see is your forehead.
Sorry.
Great forehead, by the way. And second, if you could move that mic just a little bit closer to your mouth so you could speak up a little bit louder.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Money.
Great. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so I was just saying, I haven't. So the social tagging, obvious clear benefit, improvement to organic CTR, and also data is exposed for tag management systems as well, which is cool. And you get the pictures of the social like logos like Google Plus, Facebook, etc. exposed on SERPs. Logo, I'm not sure what the clear action is as a result of that yet, but you definitely get your brand logo exposed on SERPs, so that's kind of cool. So I haven't fully read through the post that Google have announced yesterday, so I'm still kind of going through that. But it's great that structured data testing tools now been updated, because that was the thing that was missing before, is you couldn't test validation. The only other problem now is there's potentially going to be you're going to have to mark up still for reviews and product data, and you're going to need to do JSON LD markup as well for future actions. So there's going to be more stuff you're going to need to tag. They haven't quite blended like product data and reviews yet. But yeah, I'm still kind of testing it and looking into it. Did anyone read the slides I posted 2 weeks ago? So feedback on that would be great. The email bit is really cool as well, where you can change, like if you send out a Gmail message, you can change the button from, instead of saying view email, you can change it to like the word donate or do something, or like GitHub, for instance, we're doing a view pull request, or if it's like an event that you're sending out as an email, you get like yes, no, maybe. So that's quite cool. There's still not a calendar JSON LD one that they're rendering yet, so I'm kind of waiting for that. But it's good that they've started to kind of move in that direction.
Phil, I have a schema question for you.
Go for it.
So how important is it to follow the example of how to structure the data with respect to, when you see an example of how they put the parent div and then they give it a certain I can't remember the tag they give it, and then the child element has a certain tag that gets it. How important is it to follow that exact format where the parent has to be a div and then the child has to be another div? I mean, could we customize it ourselves where the parent is some other sort of element, like something other than a div, or how close does it have to be to be recognized as that structured data?
I mean, now validator, I guess the thing to do would be to try the validator and see if it validates. At least then you'd know that if it's validating, it's going to render it. The only thing I would say from a JavaScript point of view, if there's a nesting, then it's going to mean that the way that like GTM is going to pull out that is you have to kind of adjust it so that say you've got like a list of arrays, for example, so like say multiple products or say multiple kind of Facebook like accounts or something are on a page, then you'd have to make sure that the nesting is valid. Otherwise, the lookup that you use within GTM would be not quite correct. So yeah, I check for validation and make sure that the tag management system knows what to look for.
Phil, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, amazing intro, by the way, hands down. I mean, you introduced this new social, yeah, I just wanted to ask you, so what do you think? Should we go for the second example, the one with how they're specifying, like if I want to specify like the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I mean, and all that, so would I use this? Here, let me just paste it in the chat. This one here, or which one? And I can add another line and so on, right?
One's for individual, one's for corporate or organizational. So for your brand,
I used the second one. I don't think they're specifying corporate or.
They are.
Okay, here's a similar template for a person to specify their social profiles.
That's yeah. So there's if you look at the social profile source, there's two markups.
Yeah. Now, what do you think? Should I then do it? Just the homepage is fine, right? I mean, if it's an HTML site with 1,000 pages, put it in all the pages?
I mean, the difference between the JSON and LD and kind of rich snippets is the idea is you're going to tag future actions. So, for instance, if your future action is, like on Facebook, then you want to have that future action exposed on the page. So, if you want that page rendered, then you want to add it to that page. So, you probably don't want to do just your home page.
Okay.
That's my interpretation of that.
Look, I'm just going to put this on the homepage. I mean, if it's a WordPress site, of course, there's a plugin coming in the next couple of days for sure. Right? Or you think I could still use the Raven plugin for that?
So you probably notice at the top of the script, you'll actually see the kind of JSON LD as a script type.
Yeah, I see that.
So as long as the plugin is outputting, the JavaScript schema.org markup or JSON LD, then that should be right. Have you checked out the JSON LD playground as well?
Yeah, I have. When I was just there for like a client's contact page, I had to do something. Yeah, I saw the. Yeah, it's pretty complex. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you guys want to explain what this is all for? I'm not sure the viewers will understand why you're doing this.
The Google introduced social profiles basically in the search results to include your social profiles in the search results.
They came out with a blog post that basically talks about it, where on the knowledge graph, so like on the right-hand side of the page, where if you were to do a search for a company like Rusty Brick, for example, I'll give a throw out there to Barry, where you would see the knowledge graph of information on the right, and then it would also render other social profiles, not just Google+, but it would render like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all that type of stuff.
But there's no guarantee that it's gonna show up either, right? Even if you do it technically correct, you have to have some sort of reputation or trust, etc.
No, it will show up, I think.
Barry, you want to give some enlightenment to that?
So marking up your stuff with that new rich snippet, the social profiles rich snippet, will not make your knowledge graph show up. If your knowledge graph shows up for your brand, your person name, then marking up the rich snippets might help you control what social profiles show up in your knowledge graph panel, but it won't make your knowledge graph panel show up. The only way to do that is to be like Matt Storms and actually spam the Freebase and stuff and get that things going and working out there. But if you don't know how to spam, then you have to contact Matt over here.
So you go to Freebase and you set up an account and you fill out all the information and you wait like 8 months, like I did. And after 8 months, if you do an incognito search for the term Matt Storms, I will show up there with SEO professional, unless college I graduated from, my parents' names, my wife's names, even my kids' names are in there. And for some reason it wouldn't take my dog's name. I don't know why, but it took all that information, and so now if anybody does a search for Matt Storms, it lists SEO professional there.
So it's great for stalkers, huh?
Exactly.
For a brand, I just posted in the chat, to get something like this is also, you gotta wait around 7 months.
It can take time. I mean, I've done it for brands as well, and it just takes time, and that's the only problem. It's not going to happen overnight. If you think it's going to happen overnight, think many, many times over. It's going to take time.
Now, here's a question for you. Do you need to use the schema markup? Can Google, for big brands, determine what social profiles it should put there automatically?
No.
No, they can't, or you shouldn't?
You know, before this, they were showing social profiles. Nobody marked it up. Do a search for Google, do a search for Yahoo. Nobody did the markup yet. It's brand new, the markup. So the social profiles are showing already. If you want to be like, I don't want to show my MySpace, but I'd rather show my Twitter and Facebook, it might help do that. But I don't know, who would not want to show their MySpace profile?
So this is going to give them information about what social profiles are important for people.
No, I'm on .com. I'm on a proxy right now, a U.S. satellite.
I see it. I don't know what's wrong with you.
See it. I can show you my stuff. I don't.
I don't want to see your stuff.
Yeah. I guess I'm snowed in the background, too.
Whatever.
By the way, I stole this from John, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some issues. I mean, I think it's good to mark up all your stuff, though. I mean, what's the harm in marking it up anyways?
Google steals your stuff. We don't want Google stealing your stuff.
Google is the ultimate scraper. They will steal your content and they will render it. Okay?
It's like you serving it up on a platter for them.
Exactly, and that's really what you're doing. If you mark your site up with schema, That's exactly what you're doing. And Josh is nodding his head, and he's in complete agreement on this. And they will gladly scrape your content. I didn't notice it until just this last week. I totally missed the post about if you're doing music lyric searches of Google rendering those on the page. If you do it, I was looking up one of my favorite songs, "Holy Diver" by Ronnie St. James. Great song. May he rest in peace. So I like heavy hard metal from the 70s and 80s. And the thing is I was like, oh, I forgot the lyrics to that. I forgot one part of it. So I went to look it up, and I see the whole thing there. They're pulling that from other sources and things like that. So, all of these, sites that, it's only a matter of time before a lot of sites start to lose their value. And so then, therefore, it's, well, how do you differentiate yourself so that Google can't take your information and use it? And those are going to be the sites that, or the fields and the markets you want to be in. What does that say there, Kevin?
Can you guys see that?
No.
Okay, so is this really fair, Google? Is this really fair use? I mean, there's actually a point of where this actually becomes not even fair use. Basically, if you do a search for how to blow frozen bubbles, okay, like if you want to watch the bubble freeze, this has steps 1 through 5 right in the Google listing. And more importantly, that's the final step. Number 5 is the final step. So there is literally no reason whatsoever for somebody to go outside and click through to that search result.
I don't know. I don't see it.
It's copyright infringement, Kevin.
Well, I mean, fair use says that you can use a piece of something to describe what you were talking about. So you can play a snippet of a song if you're discussing the song. If you're if you're doing a slide presentation and you want to talk about the red pill, blue pill from The Matrix, you can show a picture of that because that does not diminish the movie to the point that people won't go see the movie. If you put all of the 5 steps of how to do a frozen bubble from somebody's website in the search, they no longer need to go do that. That is basically the whole thing.
What's interesting is that there was, I don't know if you saw the post from Stephen Levy last night. So he has access to Googlers that none of us have access to, like the top engineers, all who run actually Google Search and Knowledge Graph and all that other stuff. And in his interview, it's funny, in his story, obviously he quoted a lot, but in his story he actually didn't quote. He said something to the fact that Google won't say, but it's believed that 25% of the searches that people do evoke the knowledge graph. And in that case, you wonder, like, all right, all these answers, all these people, like potentially 25% of those searches that searchers that might click on your search results, that might go to a publisher site, are potentially just seeing a knowledge graph, getting the answer right away, and they're not clicking on it. So these 25% of the searches are probably losing traffic to the knowledge graph where Google wants to provide the answer. Obviously, it's using a number that's not really quoted by Google, but it's probably just told to him saying, you can't quote me on this, but it's probably somewhere in the 25% range. Which is pretty crazy. So.
Don't you think this kind of affects Google's display network and the revenue that they get from it too?
Because maybe, but at the same time, they're totally different departments. So the search team, the organic team, couldn't care less. And literally could not care less about the AdWords team.
But if you have a meet right now in this Hangout, he would tell you it's 100% the Swiss Army knife. We're not trying to hurt these publishers. We're trying to help them. Sometimes you need sometimes there isn't the screwdriver, right?
Well, I think it's fair to say that on some of the listings they just haven't figured out. Like take the five steps that I mentioned. How would they know to not show all 5? From my standpoint, it would be like, okay, if there's 5 numbers, if it's a list, an LI, and there's 5 items, then don't show all 5. But I suspect that they probably haven't built that in yet. When do they want to?
They'll add images to it as well, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They'll add images later
Yeah, but what's interesting is when Google actually does it to their own search results, like their own content, they'll put like a nice call to action button there saying, click here to like, it actually do something. I don't know if you've ever seen like Google citing their own documentation, the Google search results. They have the same type of like step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then click here with a nice like blue arrow saying to actually act on this. So why can't, it just drives me nuts. Why can't, if Google's stealing your content, showing those answers, maybe giving you a source link, maybe not, why can't they let publishers have those arrows too? Those call to action buttons in there. It just drives me nuts.
Why indeed, Barry? Why indeed?
I'm working on it.
So by the way, I just wanted to let you know, guys, since the whole Firefox, Yahoo thing, I've been noticing, click here to, add Google to your, like as your default homepage. But I do have, like on Firefox, it is like not Yahoo, it's Google, and it's still forcing me to add the Google to as a default. I don't get it. You guys experiencing any of that?
Yeah, it's really hard to get good statistics on exactly how far down their search share went. Some sites were reporting 30%, some sites reporting 2%.
I know, but are you noticing the blue, like the blue highlight on top, like right on top on Firefox? Like I'm not sure what you're using, but
I'm using Chrome, and yeah, they are forcing you to get to try and use Google as a search engine. So
yeah, it's but even though it's my default, I'm not sure why it's trying to do that. But yeah, that's strange. I've been seeing that just this week. So interesting.
Well, I think it's kind of getting us a little bit off topic there. So let's swing it back to the schema stuff, though. I think that it's very powerful. I think for email, I think it is an extremely powerful thing. Have any of you been using it in any of your email newsletters or things like that? I see Josh shaking his head. I don't know if you're. Oh, Josh, how are you using? Are you using that schema in your email distribution to send out to your people?
no, I would just agree that it would be a great idea. I mean, I could definitely see ways it would be really, really cool to use. And I'm really interested in schema. More generally speaking, I'm really interested in more schema, off-page schema. So when people talk about schema, they talk about all the stuff they can do on their own site. I'm more interested in the schema you can get with referencing you from reviews and ratings and I don't know what kind of schema, but different kind of schema that can reference you on other people's websites, off-page schema. What kind of off-page schema do you guys know about? I know there's ratings, rating schema, there's review schema. What other kind of schema have you guys seen out there?
I mean, you have events. You
Events.
have, and that's a big one that I'm actually working with right now, is because I'm building. And yes, Josh does say schema. Weird.
Is it schema or schema?
It's schema. Josh he just likes to say it the Canadian way, which is always screwed up.
Schema, that's what I used to clean my pool.
So, I look at it.
There was the author snippet. There is events. There's social profiles.
Yep.
What else is there?
Bios, personal information.
Yeah.
E-commerce. There's e-commerce schema markup. SKUs, colors,
weights. I mean,
weights.
there's hundreds. I mean, there's literally hundreds of things. If you actually go and spend the time, and maybe Phil has. Phil, have you ever gone through and looked at all the schema markups? I have. I've actually gone through and looked at every single one, and I literally was looking through every single one, and I was writing every single one down that was possible to use, and on a website that I worked on a while ago, and that came in handy for my website that I was supposed to launch today, but I had a server issue, so now I'll be launching it next week. But that's what happens when your developers write code to accidentally lock them out of their own server. Yes, good job, developers. Yes, that did happen to me. Talk about a fun nightmare. But when I was doing that research for a client, I found that there's hundreds of different schemas that you can use, and you don't just have to use like 4 or 5, schemas. You can use a ton of them on each page. There really is no limit except for like search pages or category pages. You don't want to put it there. You want to put it on your actual like last level page, like your product page or something like that. That's your ideal place.
So just to clarify for people that are watching this that are not familiar with this, though, keep in mind that there are some items that you can put schema markup on that propagate across all of your pages, or that are put in from a code level and it's just going to be there whenever you populate something. There are other items, especially like, for example, with e-commerce, where it would be reliant on the person managing that to actually populate that data. So if you're going to add in a whole bunch of information about bios, and your CMS requires you to enter in the data about bio, there may have to be a drop down that's added to that CMS to allow them to pick the appropriate item for that specific schema piece.
Can I say something? Isn't it important really to focus on the schema that actually produces results and rich snippets? I mean, we could sit here all day and mark up our pages with schema from top to bottom. You could schema almost a lot of things, but if it's not showing up in rich snippets, isn't it just an exercise in futility?
No, because rich snippets also allows, as we were discussing a few moments ago, it also allows Google to understand the context of that data better. So are you talking about Meatloaf, the food item, which I like, or are you talking about Meatloaf, the singer?
Well, we don't know which schema they're use in their algorithms, other than the ones that produce rich snippets. So if we're doing a bunch of schema that doesn't produce rich snippets, and they're telling you in the background, oh yeah, do all this schema, it's going to help us, but we don't know which one's helping us, so we're going to labor over all this, and we don't know where it's going to go.
And so goes so many things with Google. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes.
But our resources are limited. I mean, if I'm picking between whether I want to mark up my whole page or whether I want to add more content that could be linked to.
I think the obvious answer to that is you start where your resources will allow you to, and as we discover more value, or Google tells us that by displaying it or actually outright telling us, then we add those things in. I think anybody could take any type of coding. You go back to source ordering. People can take things to any kind of extreme, but yes, you should start with the levels that you feel comfortable with and that are obviously going to knowingly provide the most value.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Danny. I mean, that's a question for SEO, period. There's a list of 20 things you need to do on how do you order it. I would say schema should be probably lower down in your list. I mean, once you've done the big things and then you're looking for stuff to do with that, you could definitely tackle that point. But I've done some, to answer your question, what is useful in that regard, I've done some pretty good testing on some sites that are ranking very, very well, not with traditional signals, but with these kind of schema signals. So I think it's very important to remember that schema just doesn't go on your site. Other people have schema that refers to you, like ratings and reviews, and I personally think it's like the new link.
The new link.
Yeah.
Did you perform scientific testing on this, Josh?
Can we just?
Can I just add 2 extra points on that?
Unscientific industry.
Can we just stop calling things the new? Can we stop that, please? Not the new.
That's the new thing we'll do.
It's not the new. The new thing is not to say the new.
Okay, it's new. You got it.
Can I just add 2 points?
Please.
First one it's called JSON linked data, so it kind of relates to like linked entities. The other one is, which hasn't been mentioned so far, is because this is actually JavaScript based, whereas rich snippets is generally not. You get the additional benefit that it's very, very easy to get tracking enabled. So, for instance, tap to call, or tap to email or mail to, or tap to social. Those are also now they're going to be standardized markups. It's going to be really, really simple to get those actions recorded in Google Analytics via Tag Manager. So it's going to be great in terms of reporting SEO performance from these feature actions.
That's awesome. You need metrics on everything. It amazes me how many clients I have that have no metrics on nothing before they come to me. They don't know how many conversions they're making. They don't know how many phone calls they get. They don't know, how much traffic even they get sometimes to their pages. It really is so important to get these metrics.
They just want the phone to ring. They don't care about the backend.
Yeah, I've dealt with that with clients
Then they can't diagnose why.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a real quick. Let me jump in. I just had a client come to me, or a potential client, where they have tons of traffic, is what they said, and I said, well, what's your analytics tell you? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, do you have Google Analytics installed, or Adobe, or who are you using? They're like, oh, we're not using anybody. I was like, well, how do you know you have tons of traffic? They're like, well, we get phone calls. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we all have probably stories of both situations where somebody, you can prove demonstratively that they are getting leads through some kind of lead capture form, through phone tracking or whatever, and they say, yeah, but our web traffic sucks, even though that's the only place that specific stuff could be coming in from or tracked from. And then you have the other guy that says, I'm not number one, and therefore this is failing, even though you're showing them that you're getting them a ton of leads. So I mean, it works both ways.
And not only that, number one, and then you show them like a statistic where, recently there was a case study, right, about that number two gives you more conversions than. Have you seen that one? So they don't care about anything, but they're just number one is number one,
Yeah, and that's a big thing that we've been fighting with in our industry, obviously, for years. Everybody here knows that is convincing them of the quality of lead generation, not just the placement of specific keywords. That would be beating a dead horse to talk about that.
But it's a fun horse to beat.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so let's move on to another topic because I see Barry falling asleep. So Barry, let's hear from you. Let's talk about some news from this last week. You've seen anything like that?
I was just getting some sleep. It's not easy for me to sleep these days, so.
I know, you got the triplets.
What was interesting, at least on the ad side, was the AdSense ads hijacking websites. Supposedly Google admitted to it, saying that there were certain flash ads that certain AdWords advertisers were implementing on the publisher side that would actually auto-redirect people from the publisher's website to this, I guess, malware or website. Google went on for like a couple weeks. Google finally admitted to it and took care of it a day after I blogged about it. So that was pretty interesting, that people could still get away with putting in ads in the Google Ad Network and go ahead and take over sites. It's crazy to think about that stuff. On the more organic side, I don't know any news publishers out there, but you no longer have to host your images on your domain name to have your images crawled and indexed and show up in the Google News Index. So that's a nice thing. That was one of those major restrictions back in the day. And I found this interesting. I don't know if you guys saw this. Glenn Game posted a screenshot of one of his clients' Webmaster Tools messages, where it said he had to fix mobile usability issues on his website, and the terminology used basically saying, we looked at your website, we have X amount of percentage of errors on the mobile usability side, and it basically says the errors on these pages will severely affect how mobile users are able to experience your website. These pages will not be seen as mobile friendly by Google search and will therefore be displayed and ranked appropriately for smartphone users. Why don't they just say, your website's not going to rank, or Google will be demoted in the search results? Why do they have to say, ranked appropriately? What does that mean? Yeah.
Well, that is part and parcel with their not wanting to ever say that they demote something. It's always that something else gets promoted above your stuff.
So that's not the case, because technically they have said, especially on the mobile side, that they will demote stuff. So that's not true. They've said that on the mobile side, if your site doesn't render, has Flash, or has these certain things that are just not going to render on mobile, we will demote your site in the mobile search results. So they have said that specifically in mobile, and some other cases.
Let me rephrase that then. They really don't like saying that.
So I called them out. They should say it in certain things, because again, people are confused. So like, there's people are just confused. So I think now that I have a halo behind me, in my prophetic way, I want to say that Google has to be more transparent, or else lightning will strike them. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Anyway, move on to a new topic, I guess, at this point. Or we could talk about Penguin and disavows and links and stuff.
No, because I mean we beat Penguin to death. I mean everybody always says there's a Penguin update every week, and you know what? I'm to the point of where like yeah there is. So what?
No, you know? They haven't been saying that. Hasn't been a Penguin update since like December 12th.
I know, and I'm like, and I now personally just ignore it, because I'm just like, okay, fine. What if there was an update? Who cares?
I care.
You know, you do. I agree that you do, but the thing is
you guys should care. You'll pick up clients.
Well, to be fair, we care. It just doesn't mean that we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and change everything all of a sudden. I mean, I care as a professional. I want to know when Google makes algorithmic changes. It's my job to know that. What I do with that information, how I react to that information, is really what we're, people that just change everything all of a sudden. That's silly.
It's actually required to properly diagnose what is holding a site back from ranking, and can change your strategy of how to get it ranking again entirely.
I can see your point to that. I mean, there's.
I think, Matt, that I think what we're sick of is within this industry where people keep saying, "Don't chase algos, don't chase algos." Okay, well, who says not knowing? What am I going to do? Just blissfully pretend that an algorithm didn't come out, that a change didn't happen? Of course, you don't chase the algo. You're not doing everything else in lieu of it, and you're still writing good content. Oh, for the love of God, if we hear that one more time. But yeah, I mean, you still need to be a professional and know about it.
Right. You can't chase the algo, but you can't ignore the algo either.
I love ignoring the algo. It just makes me so happy. You see these threads in the Google. You guys see it all the time in the forums. Like, people are just they have their heads in the sand. It's just like, it's absolutely crazy. I don't know if you saw that one of the Google News things. Like, why did Google send me a message that I'm not included, that they remove me from the Google News Index? Guys, like, well, you're taking content from other sources like Router or CNN or whatever, and copying and pasting it and putting it on your website. Why should you be included in the Google News when they only want original news stories? The guy's like, I'm only doing that. I used to do that in the past. Now I hire writers, and now I'm only doing that on the weekends, so I have content on Saturday and Sundays. Guys, he's like, I just can't afford it. Google is not being fair to me. I have to make a living. Like, still, why would Google want your duplicate stories in there? So it's just, people like to literally just say, I don't want to know things. If I don't know things, it won't affect me, and that's the way this world works, honestly. It doesn't.
Can I comment something regarding the whole story about the Berry site and apparently many other sites, including mine, that probably affected by the presence of the user-generated content? I've been willing to comment here, but for months, but I have not been making time to attend to the actual Hangout recording time. But finally, I make it. What I noticed, looking at least to the Alexa variation of the rankings on Berry site, mine sites, and many other sites that have user-generated content, it's pretty similar. And I wonder if that just means that we are all affected by the same karma, especially when it probably started on Panda 4.1 in October. And from then on, it has been sort of downhill with some ups, but mostly downs. And well, I don't have any specific information, but I just wanted to comment that I noticed this pattern. And what I was wondering if you guys have also noticed this similarity in the variation of rankings, although Alexa is not really a reliable source of traffic volume information, but I think it still gives you some information to compare sites that probably are similar in aspects that are affecting from the Google algorithms.
Well, thanks for joining us. I think the Alexa toolbar thing is probably correlation, as you mentioned. But it is interesting that Barry gets a lot of traffic on his site. He's one of the main sites for SEO. And if you've got a good Alexa ranking, then you probably have a lot of traffic as well. Yeah. And the more traffic you have, the more disgruntled comments you're going to get, the more spam you might get in your comments and your post user-generated content, and the more cruft you might get in your user-generated content. So unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about whether I think it's ethical or not. P.S. I think it's unethical. But the onus is on us to police our websites and remove bad comments, because I have various Google admissions that this is probably a problem for Panda, especially when you have more negative comments on a page than you have positive content, so to speak. They've said numerous times that they take a very dim view to that, and they don't want to rank pages like that. So I personally think it's unethical if they take that standpoint, but until such time as they change, if they ever change, you've really got to make sure you're cleaning up that user-generated content and make sure that it's just positive comments, or just remove the comments entirely if you can't control it.
Yeah. Okay. Time out though. You really got to be careful about removing negative comments from. I understand that Google may not be ranking that incorrectly or demoting you because of that, but you really got to be careful about if you have a community and it's sometimes very, very dimly viewed. If you are removing negative comments, and it actually can devalue your content because nobody's that perfect. So if you go to a review site and you're removing negatives, and I see nothing but positives, I don't trust that as well. So you got to weigh that very carefully.
Sure. I do take Kevin's point.
Yeah, sorry. To that point, I would like to add that my user-generated content is not comments. It's like programming components that the users submit, and I, as a moderator, review the descriptions and sometimes improve them to give more details what they do. They are like 3 paragraphs for each. And I thought once that could be thin content, but at least I do not see any what they call the false 404 pages on the Webmaster tools for these specific pages, and I'm not also certain that the thing that the Google is probably eating is comments. It's probably more the nature of the content that over time may be losing relevance, and if you have been publishing your blog for years, probably the whole articles, this is just a guess, I have no clue if this is even related. And also the problem, because my site is over 15 years, I have components that probably are old and useless for the current users, and that's the only similarity that I see with blogs. Because my user-generated content is not comments. And I also noticed the same curve in Alexa on jobs posting sites, which, well, I don't know if you can compare those job posts with blog comments, or even programming components, but it still uses generated content because job codes are submitted by somebody else that is not the site owner.
But do you think it's because of like, it could be also, like you have all this stuff, but maybe it could be like, you know, 2-3 pages that are actually making, you know, kind of like hurting you?
Well, I have thousands of pages.
I know, I understand, but it's in the end, it could be like 2-3 pages that did it, you know?
Yeah, well, at this point, I'm only guessing. I have no clue. Google does not help us in this moment. For now, they said maybe they will provide some information about algorithm penalizations, but I don't see that happening anytime soon, and you still have to survive.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think you're onto something there. I mean, if you have code snippets that are not relevant anymore, or they're old, or they're not accessible, or they're not easily understandable, then you have to make them relevant. You have to make them easily understandable, break them down, give comments in the code so coders can understand what the code is used for and whatnot, make it more accessible and useful so that people love it. And if you can't do that for certain pages, you might consider deleting them. Of course, there are pitfalls there as well. If they're currently ranking, if you delete the page and it's not going to be ranking anymore. But it's a balance between getting rid of content that no one is liking and is not ranking at all versus sprucing up old content so that people will like it, and then putting content on there that people are going to love and share and all those good things.
And of course, keep in mind that if you're removing old content, sorry, Matt, if you're removing old content, keep in mind that if those pages are also helping other pages on your site because they're on similar subjects and you know they're linking to that money page or that important page that converts, be very careful about removing those as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is you be careful of your interlinking pages and things like that, because I mean, if you were just to go by your analytics and just to look at the top or the bottom 50 pages of traffic pages on your website, then you need to research them and say, you know, start manipulating stuff there. Start manipulating with your lower quality, you know, or your lower traffic pages, and start playing with those pages first. Don't go to your high pages. Don't start with your high pages, because that's where your quality's at. That's where your traffic is going to. So play with your pages that have the least amount of traffic. If it shows 0 over 6 months of traffic, that's a good page to start with. That's a good page to start, you know, saying, do you really need to keep it, or should you go ahead and delete it? Because if no one's come to the page for 6 months, I usually say that those are usually worthless pages. And when I've done audits, and Josh maybe back me up on this, when you do audits and you see pages that haven't had one visit to them for 6 months, is that even a relevant page anymore?
Well, let me just comment something again that I mentioned in the past Hangout that I attended, is that I developed an algorithm to use the Google Webmaster's API to retrieve the list of pages that currently are receiving traffic from Google, and all the other pages that are not receiving traffic from Google, I suppose it's 3 months, I am guessing that Google is not considering them relevant, and at least for a certain type of page, which are support forums, I have marked them as no index. So if they are not getting traffic, it's probably they are hurting my my site rankings as a whole. And I did this early in 2014, like in February, and then I noticed 2 recoveries of Panda, but I'm not fully certain that it is related to what I did, because many other sites recovered from Panda, like I think it was in February and then in May or something, or July or June.
What if somebody needs those pages that you're gonna? I guess you're no indexing them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm no indexing, so it's mainly for Google, not for the users that go at the site, because they still appear in the internal search of the site.
Which cracks me up, because Google keeps saying, don't do things for us, don't do things for us, do things for users. Oh, by the way, if you don't do this, we're going to strike down upon thee with great and furious wrath.
Yeah, that's a bit ironic, because this was a recommendation by John Mueller. I asked him before if I should do that, and he said it would be a good idea. First, you suggested that if you ever support forum with just one people asking, nobody answering, you should mark that as no index. Then I asked him about using this algorithm that I implemented. And by the way, I have developed a PHP component for that. If you are interested. And I used that, and well, there was the Panda for recovery. I don't know how much it was related with that, what I did, because many other sites recovered, and I'm certain that they did not do what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Kevin, what have you seen in the last week? We got about 10 minutes left, so let's go with stuff that people have seen in the last week.
Most of my stuff has been commented on already. I was really excited about some of the changes made in Google Webmaster tools, so I'm excited about that. And there was a couple other things mentioned, but now I don't even remember what they were. But yeah, so I think they were covered.
Outstanding. All right. Let's go with William. What have you seen in the last week?
A lot of changes in Google AdWords. Very excited to see a lot of the changes. We've got a new editor that came out previously, but now a lot of people are actually building tutorials out there, so there's a lot of good information to be read about to really bump up your advertising. Not only just the typical advertising that everybody's used to, but dynamic ad advertising, video advertising. There's all sorts of things you can kind of dive into, and everything costs differently. But if you have everything set up with your analytics and then your funnels inside your analytics, as well as everything properly set up to track your conversions, to know if you're e-commerce, especially, you'll be able to go, can I really detail out if I'm spending $6 per click or per conversion, what's my cost revenue and what's my profit revenue? At the end of the day, if you're spending more, you're wasting, and if you can actually reduce that by fixing some of the things you guys have talked about today, fixing your site to be able to absorb what the future of Google could be with the products landscape that they have in the AdWords system, with the landscape of opportunities. There's so much for advertisers, and I'm going to stop there. That was my update.
Thanks, man. Josh, what have you seen in the last week?
In the last week, I have seen crazy things in the SEO industry. I've seen character assassination.
Well, let's not go into that.
I've seen dogma. I've seen doctrinal communities attacking people personally, threatening physical violence. I've seen lots of fun.
I understand. So Josh has some issues that he's working with because some people took offense. I think that's the easiest way to.
I missed it actually, so I was not being put in an email from Barry or Josh.
It's funny because like somebody came to me and was like, "Did you hear about this Josh character?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard of him." It's like, well, it's crazy. He's like, he makes fun of you on videos. He puts you down. He mocks you. I'm like, yeah, I actually find it funny. They don't get your humor. So
no.
You need to like. Or like whatever our show on Friday that we never do anymore. Always have disclaimers before and after you talk.
That's probably a good idea.
Sarcasm at its best.
Well, I'm just here to ruffle feathers, and in a couple weeks, I'm going to be ruffling a few more. You guys thought I was ruffling feathers now? Just wait.
Well, just be gentle in how you do it.
Oh, I'm always gentle.
Or just consider not doing it at all. That would be another approach. Just saying.
Impossible.
I accept that as your answer.
He's got to do what he's got to do.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so moving on. Baruch, what have you seen the last week that is...
Well, I know every time I say this, Barry says he doesn't see anything, but I'm starting to see fluctuations. Good ones. And...
Starting when?
I'm sorry?
Starting when?
From last week.
Last week.
Local or
I
global?
know you're gonna say Canada. Forget Canada. Pretend I don't live in Canada. Okay, I live in the USA. And so, yeah, I'm just checking. I always check, like like with the USA IP. And so, I'm just seeing fluctuations, and it looks like it's good ones.
You say that because the more you say that, the more your clients need you. No comment.
That's a good
He's
one.
quiet for the first time.
He is quiet. It's like that's the only way to mute Baruch.
Anyway, no, I mean, there's always going to be fluctuations out there. That's the algorithm, but I'm talking about mass scale.
Mass scale, like 5 jumps, 6 jumps.
No, not by query, but I'm like.
Yeah. No, nothing on a mass. This is more on a low scale, but I'm saying I'm starting to see, and when I start to see that, then I see the massive scale vary.
Okay. What I look for is basically massive numbers of webmasters like you saying, "Oh my God, either
Right.
have crazy rankings or my rankings dropped." But a lot of the webmasters saying that.
But yeah, Pigeon has hit Canada quite hard.
That was interesting. I'm surprised they launched that literally during Christmas.
And I'm really seeing like the brands, the good solid brands leave, and I'm seeing like weird names popping up in the local with like a no website, just like a Google Plus page. It's very bad, and I hope they kind of revert it back to, because it's really not fair for the user. And again, user experience comes here. Why would I wanna see like a no Google Plus page, just like basically a local page with like no photos, nothing, no logo, nothing?
What's better than a Google Plus page than anything else, than the actual user's page?
Well, there's no reviews, nothing. It just all of a sudden, like, it's just an empty page they ask you, add your logo, do this, do that, but no, they put it like in the first position. It makes no sense. But anyways, you can always put and go ahead and send them the feedback, but it just makes no sense, They're trying to give other people opportunity, but it's opportunity to people that operate from like a truck. I'm talking local, like contractors,
Yeah, plumbers and things like that.
painters, yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones.
We deal with a lot of localization, and we haven't seen anything recently, so I'd be curious as to what exactly you're seeing in that.
Well, Pigeon went live in Canada and UK and a bunch of other English countries just a couple weeks ago. So we've been seeing it for, I think, 6 months now.
By the way, the citation thing won't even help, because I searched, I compared, the brands to the citations. It's a joke. Like, they have nothing. Like, the NAP is pretty much nothing.
Well, yeah, but Pigeon was more related to centricity, how close they were to centric and so forth like that. So, I mean, you can still rank locally if you have good localized content and good citations and NAP, that is consistent across those.
Brand that's been mentioned at Toronto Star, Toronto Sun, been mentioned pretty much everywhere as outranked all these other guys in our tools that we know and that we use on a daily basis, and still those guys outranked, big brands in the local.
We have some Canadian clients. I'll look into it. We haven't seen any movement like that yet.
Yeah, take a look, because so do I. Just from all around, all across the country here, I have, and from Alberta. Like in Alberta, there's this one client, and used to be in the letter A, but now in the letter E.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up because we only got 60 seconds to go. So, with that being said, I think today's Hangout was actually very productive. So the only thing is that in the last probably 10 or 12 Hangouts, I've actually started to feel a little burnt out about these Hangouts. We need to get more participation, things like that. And if you guys disagree with me, let me know. But if you guys agree with me, let me know as well. I want to see more participation to keep these Hangouts going. And if you guys have any ideas that you want to interject to make these Hangouts better, I want you guys to let me know as well. Because otherwise, I kind of starting to feel like we're getting stale.
Don't
tell me now. Don't tell me your ideas now.
Okay.
Don't tell me your ideas now. Write them down. Send them to me. We're not going to do cats and dogs, as what Barry is writing in the chat. Or cars, because you can't spell cats on one of them. It's like. So if you guys want to come up with some ideas of things that we can enhance and we can make it better, that will actually involve more people and we'll get more discussions, I would like you to send me ideas. For those of you who are watching and not participating in the Hangout, if you have ideas how we can make the Hangouts better for you, please let us know, because we want to know how to make it a better Hangout for everyone involved, not just people who are hanging out, people who are watching. So I think that would be a great thing. And Danny writes, private Hangouts that are all black hat. I don't do black hat, so maybe you can go find a couple. But I'm not going to ever do black hat. I just won't. But black hat is making me a little bit of money right now because I'm cleaning up some black hat work that some morons did. So that being said, I want you guys to all have a great weekend. Think about the ideas to make this a better Hangout over the weekend. Let me know on Monday. I see some of you have already chatted me. Just stop now, and hit me up on Monday, or send me an email over the weekend with your great ideas. And all of you, enjoy the weekend. Go outside, have fun, go do something. I'm going to go to a Sharks game tomorrow night. First hockey game I've been to. Second hockey game of my entire life, and so I got penthouse box seats, which I'm excited. Be living the high life for a hockey game. First time, take my wife and kids to. So, anyways, have a good one, and go out and do something. Go outside, and have a great weekend, guys.
Riverdale, Chief.